Hey folks, this is immigration attorney Hassan Abdullah, and I'm preparing this video to talk about the compelling circumstances option that you may have if you've been laid off and you want to search for a different option besides the typical options you've heard about, such as changing to H4 or changing status to B1, B2, or maybe even F1 student status, or even leaving the country working remotely. There is another option called the compelling circumstances work authorization. So you have to file this in your grace period. That's one thing to consider. But before we actually delve more deeper into this subject, two things that of course I want to explain that I will go into in this video. One is, how long does it take to get this? Of course. And what are the compelling circumstances? So first of all, this work authorization, as I just said earlier, you have to file it during your 60-day grace period or before your I-94 expires, if the I-94 expires within the grace period. And you have to show compelling circumstances, plus you have to also be in a condition where you have an I-140 approved, an I-140 green card petition approved, and your priority date is not yet current. So this is a narrow form of relief applying to very particular people. It would apply pretty much only to those from India and China, because those are the only countries with backlogs on the priority date where your I-140 is in that condition where it's approved, but you're waiting for the priority date to become current. So you file the work authorization application and you present proof of compelling circumstances, and your family members can also apply for this. So this is an alternative to some of the other things that I mentioned. So what are compelling circumstances? That's the next thing to cover. Well, compelling circumstances, USCIS explains on their website that it could be a medical issue. You can provide documentation about your personal medical issue or any relative who's ailing. You can also show evidence that the employer has retaliated against you, and for the sake of just reparations or maybe to pursue those claims, USCIS is giving you a chance to stay here through this application potentially, and they'll consider that as a compelling circumstance. Substantial harm to you, so that's very broad that they've listed. It's hard to really narrow that down to one example. You can use your imagination on that one. Significant disruption to your employer. So this is kind of a funny thing to say, because if you've been laid off, then what's the disruption? But what you can present obviously is your new job, your new employer has an important reason for you to be working for them, and you not being able to work will set them back. And then you could also just cover the catch-all category, which is other evidence that demonstrates that you're experiencing compelling circumstances. So you can see this is really wide open, and you can use your creativity. And attorneys, our job is to be creative and to help you solve that issue and present the best possible compelling circumstances for your case, whatever that may be. As long as you have a non-frivolous application, you're allowed to stay here legally. You're in a period of stay authorized by the Attorney General. You're not going to have an I-94 status with this approval. So once it's approved, you'll have work authorization, but that work authorization, and it can be renewed. And the work authorization, again, it keeps you here legally, but it doesn't give you an I-94. So what about how long does this take though? How long does it take to process? Well, if you look at the online processing times for I-765 and for work authorizations for all other categories, because there is no C35, that's the category for this. There's no C35 listed in the drop-down menu for how long processing times are. So you have to click the all other option. And you find that the fastest is the National Benefits Center. The National Benefits Center says they process 80% of cases within 8 months. So the average is probably closer to like maybe 6 months. So that's the situation. It is going to take some time for this to get processed, but perhaps USCIS will be more understanding in this situation and expedite these, but just be mentally prepared for kind of a little bit of a wait. So that's another option. So just to discuss your options, of course, you can call us at the American Visa Law Group 510-500-1155, and we can discuss your options further and evaluate your case in more detail. So I hope this video has been helpful. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.